In 1949, there was an eruption near the Spanish island of La Palma that caused a series of earthquakes and resulted in a fault zone appearing along the crest of the volcano. It moved together as one piece towards the ocean. Since then, the locals think that another disaster is inevitable. In the present, a group of tourists is enjoying a boat ride while admiring the beautiful landscape. A woman jumps into the water to swim, but her friend worries when she doesn't resurface and bubbles begin surrounding the boat. At that moment they see her dead body floating under the boat and notice steam everywhere, as if the water was boiling. Suddenly the bottom of the boat cracks and hot water bursts through, killing all the passengers. Meanwhile, a Norwegian family arrives on the island for their annual Christmas vacation. They've come to the same hotel for 7 years and are friends with the employees. This year they're surprised to hear they've been assigned a very fancy room instead of the usual. While looking around the room, the daughter Sarah finds an earring left behind by the now dead tourist. At the Geology Institute of La Palma, scientists are monitoring volcanic actions on the island. They are worried about the boat accident and what could mean. Marie notices that the transmitter that sends data to her computer isn't working, so she and Hoyker head to the mountain to investigate. When they arrive at their destination, they leave the car and continue on foot to find the transmitter at a cave entrance. It looks fine, but there's equipment inside the cave as well, so they go inside to keep investigating. To Marie's shock, there's running water in the cave, which wasn't here last time. After taking a sample, they keep looking around and find dozens of dead bats on the ground. Hoyker checks the air with a gadget and finds a high concentration of carbon dioxide and sulfuric gas. Further in the cave, they find the other part of the transmitter, which is destroyed. It turns out a massive crack has appeared on the cave roof and the rock sediments crush the equipment. The duo returns to the institute and share their findings with their boss Alvaro, who scolds them for assuming this may be a sign of an incoming eruption. Before they notify the public, he wants them to find proper evidence. Afterward, Hoyker explains to Marie that Alvaro is cautious because he rushed to announce an eruption 3 years ago, causing panic and evacuation, but the eruption didn't happen. Later, Marie watches a video of how big a tsunami would be in this area and she's terrified to see the result. When she gets her brother Eric tells her about his next diving project. It seems that turtles are gathering at La Palma, which is weird because they usually don't travel together. The next day the family is having lunch together. The son Tobias is neurodivergent, so when his food doesn't look like the picture on the menu, he throws a tantrum and the parents have to fix it. While this happens, Sarah notices Charlie on another table and they share some flirtatious smiles. When Sarah is alone by the pool, Charlie invites her to hang out later, but Sarah has to turn the invitation down because she must take care of her brother. Noticing this, her father Frederick tells her to go and volunteers to take care of Tobias. After Sarah leaves, Frederick gets distracted because he notices his wife Jennifer chatting with the employee who updated their room and appears to be interested in her. When Frederick turns around, Tobias is gone. He rushes to get Sarah, interrupting her meeting with Charlie before she can even say hi. They start searching the beach together and find Tobias on top of a hill staring at the turtles in the sea. At the same time, Eric dives in to study them. When they return to the hotel room, the employee shows up to offer an update on their rented car and Frederick makes a scene. He and Jennifer end up arguing and the kids can hear them from the other room. Meanwhile, Alvaro meets a doctor friend at the morgue to ask him for an update on the biopsies from the boat accident. Showing him some, so the duo starts running. On their way back, they see a group of campers, so Marie stops to tell them to run too. She teaches them to pour some water on handkerchiefs and cover their faces as they run. The gas makes it hard to see, so Marie is accidentally separated from the rest of the group. Suddenly she trips and rolls on the ground until she passes out. Moments later, Marie is dreaming about drowning. When she finally wakes up, she finds herself in the hospital. Alvaro tells her that Hoyker inhaled a lot of gas, so he's in an induced coma, and the campers didn't survive. They start arguing because Alvaro still doesn't want to send an official warning, explaining that if they're wrong again people will stop believing them forever. Marie shares the time she was caught in a tsunami and lost her parents, which could have been prevented if they'd received the warning. She also calls Eric and tells him to leave the sea immediately. At the hotel, Sarah approaches Charlie and they finally get to chat. However, Sarah's mood drops when she sees Charlie with a guy, thinking it's her boyfriend. Frederick and Jennifer are considering going for a ride to the mountains, but a man tells them the area closed down and that people died. He casually mentions the incident with Tobias too, which Jennifer didn't know about. When they return to the room, an argument ensues and the kids can hear them again. Frederick calls out Jennifer because she hasn't been around lately and points out he knows Sarah better even though she's his stepdaughter. Getting upset, Jennifer hides in the bathroom and a crying Sarah sneaks out. The girl makes it to the city and calls her uncle Jens, who works at Norway's Foreign Affairs Ministry. When she asks for some money for a plane ticket so she can go home, Jens tries telling her it's a bad idea, so Sarah hangs up. Then Jens tries to call Jennifer, but her phone is silent because she's meditating. Sarah manages to get on a plane to Madrid and is surprised to get a text from Charlie. Later, Marie and Alvaro present their findings to the mayor, who is wary because it may be another false alarm. The duo doesn't give up and convinces her to get them a meeting with the government. Afterward receives the warning too late and it flies right into the cloud, causing its engines to catch on fire. At the hotel, Jennifer and Frederick get a call from Jens, who tells them Sarah's plan. The couple thinks the flights must have been cancelled, but at that moment they see Sarah's plane fall and crash. Soon this incident is all over the news and the couple rushes to the local hospital, where rescuers are bringing all the survivors. They can't find Sarah anywhere and Jennifer starts freaking out at the nurses, so Frederick has to drag her away. Meanwhile, the mayor gets Alvaro and his team a meeting with the government, who is skeptical about mere ash becoming an actual eruption, but after a long argument agrees to start preparations. Afterward, Alvaro tells his team to leave with their families, but he'll stay to monitor the situation. Marie hugs him in a heartful goodbye. When she gets home, Eric isn't around and he won't pick up the phone either. Moments later, an officer brings Frederick the list of passengers and explains Sarah is missing along with all the people that were sitting at the front because that part of the plane exploded. The couple is sent back to the hotel until they get news, and when they arrive at their room, they're shocked to discover Sarah is already there waiting with Tobias. After spending some time with her family, Sarah goes to the pool and finds Charlie to tell her it was her text that made her get off the plane. Then the girls share a kiss. In the middle of the night, Marie receives a call from Eric and goes to the bar to pick him up. She finds the police arresting someone and rushes to help, thinking it's her brother. In the struggle, she accidentally hits a cop, so she gets arrested as well. Before the car takes off, she sees Eric at the bar and tells him to leave the island. In the morning, Eric visits Marie in prison. Seeing her so desperate last night made him finally believe her story, and he felt guilty for delaying her escape, so he chose to stay in order to leave together. Jens receives a call from his superior to get all the staff back to the office. The team watches a simulation of the natural disaster that will destroy the Canary Islands, which could happen in just a couple of days or just a few hours. This is still confidential, so they must start planning the evacuation of any Norwegians vacationing on the islands in secret. At the hotel, Sarah wakes up next to Charlie and they share another kiss before Sarah goes back to her own room. As she cries, she finally tells her mother that she likes girls, and Jennifer showers her with support. Then the whole family has some fun in the pool together. The happy moment is interrupted by a call from Jens, who tells Jennifer about the tsunami. He explains that La Palma isn't a priority and the big ferries have been redirected to the bigger islands. Jens has found only a small ferry left that leaves in 20 minutes, so they need to hurry. The family rushes to pack only the necessities and Sarah tries to warn Charlie, but she doesn't find her in the room and there's no time left. Once outside, they can't find a taxi, so Frederick steals a van. He drives as fast as he can, dodging cars on the street until they make it to the harbor. Unfortunately, the van owners follow them and grab Frederick to start throwing him around. The rest of the family runs and boards the ferry, trying to convince the sailor not to leave yet. Frederick gives money to the men to get them to leave and rushes to try to reunite with his family, but it's too late, the ferry is already gone. Then Sarah calls Charlie and tells her to leave the island, but before she can explain, she loses signal. At the Institute, Alvaro's computers lose the signal from the transmitters and he immediately calls the government to tell them that tsunami is coming in a few hours. Soon the evacuation siren is wailing all over the island and people start panicking, not to mention the hospital has to be careful moving the survivors from the plane crash. Hoyker is woken up from his coma and can't believe what he's seeing. Everyone is trying to get a place on the last boats and Frederick manages to get on one, thanks to the help of a hotel friend. At that moment, the volcano finally erupts, releasing a tremendous amount of lava. At the police station, Eric yells at a cop for not her out, but the officer insists she must wait for orders. Before the last boat leaves, Frederick notices there's a desperate mother with a baby and decides to give them his spot, so now he's stuck on the island too. At the Institute, Hoyker surprises Alvaro by refusing to leave. The duo decides to spend their last day of life by taking one last field trip. The media all over the world covers the incident, showing footage of the falling lava, the growing tsunami, and the evacuation efforts. Sarah calls Jens to tell him what happened, so he asks his boss for help. However, she gets angry at him for leaking confidential information. At the same time, a wave researcher offers to help the office figure out safe places for the people stuck on the island, but the director sends him off. Jens secretly calls him back and gives him a work desk. Around the island, people continue to run and panic, but Frederick has given up. He calls his family but barely gets to share a few words of love before signal dies. At the police station, the cops finally run away in fear, so Eric takes the keys and frees Marie plus another prisoner. On their way out, they freeze when they see another explosion on top of the volcano. Frederick over talking and tells them there aren't any boats left, but Eric reveals he still has his diving one. The three of them run to the beach and find Eric's boat still there. When they're about to leave, the other prisoner shows up and threatens them with a gun. Eric tells him he can come along, but the man refuses to share, so Eric jumps on him and starts fighting him for the gun. During the struggle, the gun is accidentally fired and Eric is shot. Marie runs to his side and her brother dies in her arms. Frederick tackles the criminal, who quickly pushes him back and tries to drown him. This allows Frederick to grab a rock and hit the man with it, bringing him down. Then Frederick keeps him underwater while sharing some wine. At the airport, Jennifer and the kids show all the passwords including Frederick's, so they receive 4 wristbands to get on the plane. Before they board, Sarah notices Charlie outside and decides to go back for her. Since Charlie doesn't have a wristband, Sarah gives her Friedrich's. At the same time, Friedrich and Marie make it to Tenerife Island. Soon the mountain and the volcano begin crumbling, pushing the waves to start forming a tsunami. Hoyker and Alvaro are killed in the process. It also sends out a tremor that reaches the airport, making the plane shake and causing everyone to panic. Jennifer is worried about Sarah, so she and Tobias leave the plane to look for her, unaware that the girls are now boarding. By watching the waves with her binoculars, Marie realizes that Tsunami will reach Tenerife too. In Norway, Jens' boss is about to start a press conference, but it's cancelled when they hear about the land. Jens takes advantage of the reporters to finally reveal the truth about the tsunami and shares the coordinates of the safe spot before security drags him away. Soon Friedrich receives a text with the coordinates too, so he and Marie get back on the boat to try to reach the safe spot. At the airport, people in the last two planes panic because they can see the growing wave. Sarah calls her mom to tell her she's on the plane and Jennifer asks her to stay there. At that moment Charlie receives a text with the coordinates and Sarah sends them to her mother. Jennifer doesn't know how to read them, and when she's about to search on the internet, the service is shut down. Thankfully Tobias loves maps and easily finds the spot, so they leave together. Airport employee. He has a van, so he volunteers to drive the few people stranded at the airport. During the ride Tobias sees the huge tsunami and gets scared, so Jennifer tries to keep him distracted. On the boat, Marie and Friedrich work hard not to lose control since the water is getting harder to navigate by the second. To make matters worse, they lose signal on their phones, so they can't look at the map. Sarah wakes up and is shocked to realize she's alive. Charlie is still unconscious, so Sarah lays her down on the floor and together with the stewardess, they do CPR until Charlie wakes up. The girls then step out of the plane and find the whole airport destroyed. The media covers the disaster, showing the destruction on the islands but also in West Africa and Southern Europe. Hundreds of buildings have fallen and thousands of people are dead. Now the Americans are waiting for Impact 2 while Plane 2 and Sarah can finally reunite with her family. Sometime later Marie goes diving to swim with the turtles and connects to the memory of her brother, who reminds her that people should listen to nature.